Bryan Keele is a father of 4 and owner of 2 small businesses. For the last 6 years, he has worked as a consultant to find small to mid-sized companies and understands how healthcare issues affect small business owners and their employees. As a small business owner, he counts himself as one of the 20 million people currently covered under the Affordable Care Act.
So first of all, I didn't know we were allowed slideshows. I feel ripped off. All right. So my name is Bryan Keele. As my little introduction said, I own a couple businesses. One's Accounting Techniques. Most people know Accounting Techniques by the tie on my business card. I run marathons in ties as a way of raising funds for people. And so I incorporated that as part of my business logo. And then my other business is Really Good Donuts. It is not good for you, but they are delicious. And so I'm not sure what that has to do with healthcare. Yeah, happiness, it brings joy. So a little bit about me. What you guys probably don't know is I am actually Sam's twin, separated at birth. I'm clearly the better looking of the two. No, I mean, I have a story. I have a story.
You are a sexy beast.
I had to throw that out there because my wife was talking about how handsome you are the other day, and so I had to just make it official. It's public knowledge. Sorry. No, I'm here because, and first of all, I'm here, and I hope that there are some Republicans in this audience. I really, really do, and I'll tell you why. It's because whether we're on the left side of the tracks or we're on the right side of the tracks, once the election happens, we're on the same train, and it's important that whether you're on the left side or you're on the right side, that you, in your individual party, find good people with good ideas to run for office. I'm running for office in the 8th district of the state delegate race. I'm running against Greg Habib. Thank you. And I'm here today because I have a story. But my story is no different than anyone on this panel. It's no different than anyone in the audience. I got sick. My sickness was severe. It made it so I couldn't walk. I couldn't walk for a year. And then you know what happened? I got better. And then I went on with my life. And I contributed to society. You know, that I have a whole bunch of other things written, but I made some notes while everybody was speaking here that I think kind of sums up stuff. People are not expendable. They are not inventory. People are people. They are not to be abused. They are people. They are not moochers. They are people. They are not lazy. They are people. We are not weak. We are people. Corporations are not people. People are people. And I am here because I care about people. And healthcare for everybody is a right. Because in our Declaration of Independence, we say we have the right to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. It is our right. It is not something to be given. It is something inherited from above. It is inherent when we are born into this world. And that's why I'm sitting here today. So thanks for having me.
So you will have to pay the Part B plus 50% of whatever that you get through Social Security. Does anybody do anything about that?
Well, okay, so I'm not an expert on, certainly on Social Security and Part B and many of the things that you mentioned there. But one of the main problems with, and first of all, I'll try and speak a little bit slower because I know sign language, and it is incredibly difficult to interpret when people speak at the rate that I do. So one of the main problems with, from a business perspective, with any of these broader issues that we talk about in medicine is that the Republican side of the aisle says, well, if you just let the free market do its thing, then it'll solve the problem. Well, the fact of the matter is that if you are in the business of insurance or providing medical care or any of these things, and that even includes Medicare, because Medicare is, even though it's a government-run program, in the end, it's got a business aspect to it where it's got a certain amount of allocated funds from the federal government, and they have to stay within those parameters. My very first job out of college was auditing the federal government, and I found out just how crazy government finances are. They allocate money in pools, and they say this chunk of money is for this, and that chunk of money is for that, and this chunk of money is for that, and you're not really allowed to use money across it. So that's how, like, for instance, down on heading up Bent Mountain Road, there was money to straighten out the road, but there's not money to rebuild Cave Spring High School. It's because there's money in this pool and not in that pool. And so Medicare is very much the same. And there's a lot of talk in nerdy accounting world about changing the way that governments account for their money and allowing money to flow more freely between departments. But there's a lot of special interests that say, I don't want that to happen. And so, part of the narrative I think that we have to speak on when we talk about medical issues is simply saying, this isn't normal business. It doesn't function like a normal market, and normal market conditions will not fulfill the responsibility, fulfill their purpose. And like I say, I can speak to it from a business perspective, and having audited everywhere from the federal government down to our local transit systems. It's a rampant problem across all government programs, and businesses, insurance companies take advantage of it.
What can you, as a delegate, and you, Bryan, you are running for House of Delegates, what can y'all do next year to protect the Virginians? Because if they start cutting away at this ACA, 31,000 people in CD6 alone are at risk of losing their health care coverage.
So I'll answer first, and then Sam will improve on my answer because he's smarter than I am. So first of all, it's a very good question. So ACA itself has issues, right? It has problems. Everybody's heard about problems, and part of those problems could have been fixed by the state. And so the first answer to your question is we elect people that care about people. We elect good people to office. If elected, and Sam can attest to this, you don't make a lot of money as state delegate. And so it makes zero sense to me that somebody would run for office, and I'm running against Greg Habib, so I'll use him as an example. Well, he's a lawyer here in town, and I'm sure he's got lots of connections through the state to get more jobs as a lawyer. But it makes zero sense to me that you would run for a state office that pays very little money directly. I mean, you get some fringe benefits and connections, and not solve problems. That makes zero sense to me, because if you're doing that, you're literally wasting your time and our time and our money. And so that's the first answer. I'm running in a tough district, right? In the 8th district. We, in the election, in the general election, we were voted against, or whoever, Trump, gosh, I can't even remember his name because I kind of wiped it out of my mind. Trump won the 8th district 2-1. Or what was it?
45, I call it 45.
45, exactly. Number 45. So he won 2-1. In order to compete against him, first of all, we need support. There's a certain monetary side of this where if you give 2 or 3 coffees every other month to a campaign, all of a sudden I can print a gazillion flyers, and I run marathons for kicks and giggles. I will run from door to door and talk to as many freaking people as I can until I can't stand anymore. It's a great training program. Anyways, that's the first thing, is you can support good people. The fact of the matter is that Habib's got his pocket in corporate places. I work for other businesses, but I work for small businesses. I work for hairdressers. I work for landscapers. I work for the engine of our freaking economy. All right? And so, yeah, so go ahead.
And thanks. So, but you should know that there are some allies, natural allies, on some of these populist issues. And we have to forge and figure out how to frame that correctly to pull these allies under the tent.
Well, and if I can just real quickly comment on that. So, on the ally thing. So my traditional, like my background, I'm Mormon. I feel like I'm like coming out of the closet every time I say that. It shouldn't be taboo among Democrats. But no, so I'm Mormon, and many of my associates are Trump voters. I mean, they're classical conservatives, right? And Sam has kind of hit the nail on the head here. There are a lot of people. I have, in fact, lists of people that are in Salem and in Roanoke County, and they're not all just Mormons. Of course, my own community is gonna hopefully support me. But there's lists of people that were Trump voters that fall in this anti-establishment, the system's not working idea, and we can appeal to those people. I was listening. In fact, I was listening to Bernie Sanders today because I wanted to be a more effective speaker. And as I listened to him talk about his positions during the election, I realized that his reflection of people at the top are pulling all the strings and controlling everybody at the bottom. That's the same sort of idea that Trump supporters that weren't traditional, maybe Republicans, grabbed a hold of, that kind of populist nationalist movement. And so there's an opportunity for us right now, at least, especially in our local area, to make our party a big umbrella where good people with good ideas can come and find a voice. No matter whether they're Muslim or they're Mormon or they're Christian or they're Jew or they're whatever. Our tent is broad enough and we're smart enough to understand that it takes a collective group of people to solve these hard problems.
And we all love donuts.
So I'm asking you all to fight and make people realize that regular insurance is just as well affected. When I can't get a new headrest because Medicare is no longer paying for something I've needed for 10 years, they're basically telling me, as Trump did, I caught it, I don't remember, I have to look it up, but he said, if you're not productive, we don't need you. Well, I help immigrants get citizenship. I'm a master's graduate candidate at Hollins because it's living forward, even if I can't do what I used to do and I'm a substitute teacher for Roanoke County Schools. I do what I can when I can. Those of you that don't know I would just like to tell you, whether you choose to vote for him or not, he's worth knowing. He's run marathons for a young lady I know who has cerebral palsy, and he has brought voice to many things, and he stood by me for over a decade. Thanks a good man.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to respond to that real quick. So this is Chris Gettys, and Chris is, she's my date here this afternoon. Chris and I have been longtime friends for many, many years. And Chris wrote something last night that was somewhat unexpected, and it kind of makes me tear up just to think that someone would have the opinion of me that she does. I would encourage you to go to my Facebook page. It's Bryan Keele, Bryan Keele, and read what she wrote. Not because I need you to like read all these words about how awesome I am and all these things. That's also useful, but because Chris is an incredibly talented writer. Her use of language is impeded in the spoken word because of her illnesses. But when she writes, it's beauty. I mean, it's beautiful. It's art, and she's obviously disabled and totally disabled. And one of the biggest disservices that we've done to our country systemically is we've told the disabled that they're not valuable, talented, or needed. And we do that arbitrarily by putting limits on how much money they can make as a disabled person. It is incredibly difficult to get disability, right? And so once you achieve it after years of doctor's visits and usually multiple applications, it's too risky to do something that would add to society in any other way other than service, because you're at risk of losing your coverage. And that's something that we could change tomorrow. And every single person in the United States of America, Republican or Democrat, should get behind that idea. If you're disabled, guess what? You still get to contribute to our society in a productive way. And I want like crazy for Chris to write a book that makes her a millionaire.
If I can say one thing. Yes, go ahead. So as someone.
All right, I'm like the resident joker of this group. These guys are all serious, and I just throw crazy stuff out there. Start a donut business. That's what you guys need to do. And I actually want to talk about that for just a second. So people ask this question all the time, like, what can you do? What can happen? And the fact of the matter is that we can both feel powerless, but we are powerful as a collective group. When I say start a donut business, the reason why, well, not the reason, but kind of the experiment that I did with this little donut business is I wanted to know is if you invested $1,000 into a small business, into a micro business, if that business could transform a person's life. And I've experienced firsthand the fact that it can, with support of community and the support of each other, as Democrats, as people, we can change each other's lives one at a time. At the end of this campaign, no matter what happens, I'm personally, actually Really Good Donuts, my little business, is going to give a $1,000 grant to another person. And I am going to unilaterally change that person's life. And that's what we can do for each other. We can change lives one at a time. Now, I am an extremely competitive person. And I have on my Facebook page right now, Bryan Keele, Bryan Keele. I have 187 likes. There are like 70 some odd people in this room. If I do not have well over 250 likes by the time you guys leave this freaking room, that is a problem. Like, if we want to be involved, we've got to get involved. BRYANKEELE. Like my page. I've got a competitor. I want to kick his butt. I'll do all the legwork, but I need you to like my page and share the message.
One more time.
BRYANKEELE. It's not my fault. It's my family's fault.
Now, this guy is an innovator. He's been able to self-promote his campaign, his donut shop, and his accounting business. If this guy doesn't know how to spread the message, I don't know who will be able to. So, we appreciate lots of good information right there. I'll share with you just a few quick points. Bryan Keele.